Hello, welcome to Bored and Confused. Today I am doing my picks for who will win the 2026 Tony Awards. It is a week until the ceremony. Things can still change over the next week, but I thought this was a good time to put in my predictions. Now we're going to play a little game that I like to play called Want, Should, and Will. Who do I want to win? Who should win, and who do I think will win? Now, before we get into this, though, I do want to talk about the Tony voters. Who are the people that are voting on the nominees to see who will win a Tony Award? There are 857 Tony voters, and they come from a variety of places in the theater industry. We've got the 64 Tony Award Nomination Committee who vote, the Broadway League, the American Theater Wing, Actors Equity Association, the Dramatists Guild, the Stage Directors and Choreographers Society, the United Scenic Artists, the Association of Theatrical Press Agents, the Theatrical Council of Casting Society, New York Drama Critics Circle, and the National Talent Representatives. Now, the biggest voting bloc among those groups is the Broadway League and Actors Equity Association. And they tend to vote kind of in different ways. The voters from Actors Equity are the performers' governing board, and they tend to vote more from their heart, sentimental. They tend to reward people who have put a lifetime of work into this industry. And they will often honor veterans in the industry. But in contrast, the Broadway League, which consists of producers, theater owners, and general managers, are more concerned about the Broadway brand and about money and about getting people in to see shows and getting people to see touring shows. It's a much more pragmatic approach. So I'm going to keep these both in mind as I talk about who I think will win these awards. So let's jump into this, shall we? I'm going to start with the least sexy awards. Sorry if you're really into sound design. I say they're the least sexy awards because sound design is such a difficult award to decide. Because when we go see a play, we don't really think about the sound design unless there's a problem, unless we can't hear what they're saying. And shows that often are memorable for sound design are ones where it's, let's say it's taking place in the mountains and there's ambient sound going on. But when a play is just taking place in a room, we don't really think much about the sound design. So one of the most difficult ones to choose is sound design for a play. And I often feel like the winner goes to whichever show has the most momentum. So people say, oh, well, we already gave it best play and all these other awards. Let's just throw sound design in on top of that. And I'm sorry, sound designers, if that's upsetting, but I think that's how a lot of Tony voters really think because they don't really know a lot about sound design. So who do I want to win? I think I want Tom Gibbons of Oedipus to win. And I also think he should win because that play dealt with a lot of different kind of acoustic things. We had the opening sequence with the video montage, and then we had the screens within the space of them watching the election. We had sounds from outside. So I thought the sound design for that was important. And I also was dealing with people with dialects, and I had no trouble understanding them. So that is my want and should. But who will probably win is Death of a Salesman, just because I think they're going to be collecting a lot of awards, and I think sound design is going to get thrown in with that. Next up, we have sound design of a musical. Who I want to win is Schmigadoon, purely because I find theater just to be too loud these days, and Schmigadoon was not too loud. But Lost Boys and Cats, the Jellicoe Ball, were just too loud for me. But who should win is probably Lost Boys because I think it had the most interesting sound design with the creepy vampire stuff and also a very difficult score to mix because it's a rock score and it can be very difficult to understand the lyrics, but I thought they did a good job of making the lyrics understandable, yet still having that rock sound. So I think they should win, and I also think Lost Boys is really going to sweep a lot of the technical categories, so I think they'll also probably get thrown in with Best Sound Design. All right, next we have Best Lighting Design of a Play. This one, again, It's going to have a lot of momentum behind it. I think Death of a Salesman is going to win this. I honestly, I want them to win because I think they had really cool lighting design, and I think they should win because it was really cool lighting design that also was helping to tell the story and was also helping Joe Mantello's vision of this interesting garage space. And I thought it was lit beautifully, and I think it will win as well. Next, best lighting of a musical. Again, Lost Boys, I think, is going to sweep a lot of the technical categories. So I thought the lighting was amazing for this show, and so I want it to win. I think it should win, and I think it will win. Best costume design of a play. Now, I want Queen Jean to win for Liberation. Part of this is just because I really loved Liberation. And the costuming is simple, but so specific. It's set in a very specific time period in the 1970s, and each one of these women are very different characters. And the moment each of these characters walked in, I thought their costumes and their hair and makeup as well immediately told me who the person was. Now, of course, the actors bringing in their character as they walk in, but gosh, these costumes really helped them out, and I just felt like every single character was so specific with the costume design. So that's who I want to win. And that's also, honestly, who I think it should win, because sometimes the simpler thing is just harder to do. Who do I think will win? I think Fallen Angels will win because it is the splashiest of the costumes. It's a very specific period. It's more these grand, Noel Coward image of what these women would look like. And so I think for that reason, it will win the award. And I also think there's a case to be made for it should win the award as well. And just while we're there, the 1970s costumes of Dog Day Afternoon were also really great. And I really like the costume for Joe Turner's Come and Gone, but I can't give it to them because they just looked too darn clean. Next, we have Best Costume Design of a Musical. For this one, I think Queen Jean for Cats the Jellicoe Ball. That's who I want. That's who I think should win, and I think that's who will win. There could be an upset and giving it to Linda Cho, who's nominated twice in this category, and for Schmigadoon, because those costumes were an extension of the humor of this show, of a parody of these Golden Age musicals, and I thought these costumes also had a sense of humor as well. But I think it's going to go to Cats the Jellicoe Ball, just for being kind of the most unusual show to costume this season. Best Scenic Design of a Play. Oedipus has been getting a lot of love, but I think that people just are not going to be able to discount how realistic the set for Dog Day Afternoon looks. It just looks so right for the period. It's a huge set. The way it moves around the space, you look at it and you go, wow, what a set. So that's who I want to win. That's who I think should win, and I think that's who will win. I could also say I also really loved Bug, just for the realistic grittiness of this hotel, but it's a much simpler design. So yeah, despite Oedipus having a lot of buzz, I think it's going to go to David Corns for Dog Day Afternoon. Okay, Best Scenic Design of a Musical. This one, I think, again, I was saying The Lost Boys is going to sweep up the technical awards. So I thought the set design was incredible. Dane Laffrey also won last year for Maybe Happy Ending, and he's doing great work again. So I want it to win. I think it should win, and I think it will win. But again, Schmigadoon had really funny set design as well, just like the costumes. Best Orchestrations. This one is kind of going to be divergent here. Who I want to win is The Lost Boys. The score wasn't my favorite, but it was orchestrated really well and just sounded cool and edgy and vampiric, and I love that. But I think Schmigadoon will win, and I also think I can make a case for they should win, because the Orchestrations had to really create this parody of classic Rodgers and Hammerstein and Meredith Willson and Frank Lesser musicals from the golden age of musicals. And I thought that was done very brilliantly. Because, be honest about the score for Schmigadoon, it's a parody score, and it's really pulling directly from these shows, both lyrically and musically. But I thought the orchestration just was giving it that extra little wink, wink, nod, nod, and a lot of the humor was coming from the Orchestrations. So I think it will win. I think it should win. But I kind of want Lost Boys to win. And there's a lot of love for Cats the Jellicoe Ball. It could be an upset and it could win. But the reason I don't think Cats is going to win is because it wasn't different enough. I was actually a little disappointed by the Orchestrations for Cats because it still sounded too much like Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats. And I wanted it to go full tilt boogie ballroom. The score for Cats was written in the same era of the Harlem ballroom scene. So in a way, it's like already there, but I wanted to push it a little bit more. Best choreography. I think this one is pretty much a shoo-in. I think Omari Wiles and Arturo Lyons will win for Cats the Jellicoe Ball. I mean, it's a dance show. So I want them to win. I think they should win. I think they will win. Now, Christopher Gattelli did amazing work for Schmigadoon, again, talking about comedy through the choreography. And so that might be an upset, but I really think it's going to be Cats who will win this year. So, Best Featured Actress in a Play. My girl, Laurie Metcalf. Sorry, June Squibb, it's going to be Laurie. I want her to win. I think she should win, and I think she will win. I know that there's a lot of sentimental, especially from Actors Equity, for June Squibb, but there's also a lot of sentiment for Laurie Metcalf. And the fact that she didn't get nominated in the Best Actor category for Bear Ridge Road, I think really is just going to make people say, she gave 2 Tony Award winning performances this year, and she was only nominated for 1, so we have to give it to her for that. Sorry, June. But she could be an upset if people get real sentimental. Best Featured Actor in a Play. Ooh, this one's a tight race between Christopher Abbott and Alden Ehrenreich. Alden won the prestigious Drama League Award, so he's got that going in. So, who do I want to win? I actually want Ruben Santiago Hudson to win because I just love him, and he's very good in an uneven production of Joe Turner's Come and Gone. It is one of those roles that is a great role and often wins an award. So that's in his favor. But I really loved him. He just was such a standout. And I actually think he should win for that. Also, he's a guy that's been around in the industry for a long time. But who do I think will win? I think Alden will win. I think he's gotten the stamp of approval from the Drama League. And also the critics gave him a lot of buzz. So if the people in the industry are paying attention to the critics, again, it's not the critics who decide these awards, but the critics were so resoundingly praiseworthy of Alden's performance that I think he will win. Now, there could be an upset, and Christopher Abbott could win, would be deserving, but I think it's Alden's year. Also, I think they're going to reward him for making the jump from movies to theater and see if they can get him to stay. Best Featured Actress in a Musical. This one is easy. It's going to go to Shoshana Bean. That's who I want. That's who should win, and that's who will win. I really don't see making much of a case for anyone else. Maybe Nichelle Lewis, just because that role historically has won Tonys, and she's very good. But I think it's Shoshana Beans, and she's also a veteran in the industry. I just think she's going to get it. Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Okay, this is an interesting category because who I want to win is the man's name who I cannot pronounce, Ali Louis Bourgui. I want him to win. I just thought he was great in The Lost Boys. I just really, really enjoyed his performance. Who I think should win is Leighton Williams for Titanic. And the reason I'm not giving him my want is I tend to lean more towards American actors. He also already won the Olivier, and also Ali is originating his role. He's also having to walk in the shadow of Kiefer Sutherland. And so, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I really think Leighton is amazing, but I want Ali to win. That's just what I'm feeling in my heart of hearts. Leighton should win, but who will win, I think it's going to be Andre DeShields. I think the Actors Equity block will vote for Andre because he is a veteran actor, even though he's already won a Tony. And I thought his performance at Hadestown was more worthy of a Tony than his performance in Deuteronomy, which is wonderful. But also Cats doesn't have many actor nominations, and they might just throw them some love. So I think it's going to be Andre. That's a tricky one. Best Direction of a Play. I want Whitney White to win for Liberation because I love Liberation. And I think it's just anytime a play or a musical is greater than the sum of its parts, that is because of the director. And so it's between Whitney White and Joe Mantello. Joe Mantello will win because I mean, he's amazing. So the industry knows he's a veteran, he's amazing. So I think he's got that going for him. I think this show is going to pick up a lot of awards. So I think he's going to win. But I want Whitney White to win. I think she should win. That's just me. Because she was doing a new play. We already know Death of a Salesman is a great play. Best direction of a musical. I think this one is pretty obviously going to be Jalen Livingston and Bill Rausch for Cat's the Jellicoe Ball. That's who I want to win. That's who I think should win. And I think that is who will win. Now, there might be an upset for Lyre de Bessenay. But, and I'm going to talk about this when I talk about Best Revival, but it'll pertain to the reason I think they should win Best Direction. But they had a very unusual vision for this show. If any other director would have directed Ragtime, you would have probably gotten a similar Ragtime. If any other director would have directed Cats, you would not have gotten a similar Cats. So for that reason, give it Best Direction to Cat's the Jellicoe Ball. So, Best Actress in a Play. Who I want to win is Susannah Flood because I just loved Liberation and I loved Susannah Flood in this role. She was so believable as stepping in as the writer of this play that I mentioned this in my review. My friend who I brought with me turned to me and said, "Oh, did she write the play?" I'm like, "No, she's acting." She just was so believable in this role, and it was funny and quirky and felt like she was talking off the cuff. It didn't feel like she had memorized this script. It just felt so natural, and she speaks to the audience, she speaks to the other actors, she speaks to them as characters in the play, she speaks to them as actors in the play. I just thought she was incredible. So I could make a case for her, she should win, but I think I'm going to give my should to Lesley Manville for Oedipus. And I'm also going to think, and I think she will win. Because Lesley has a 10-minute monologue that just has you spellbound. Also, I often say it's the role of Jocasta in Oedipus is a role that is hard to compare with. I do love the role that Susannah Flood is playing in Liberation, but when we talk about comedy and drama and just the extremes of drama that she has to go through in Oedipus, it is a role that should win and it is a role that will win. In another season, I think Carrie Coon could have won for Bug. Also goes to very extremes, dramatic extremes. Best actor in a play. Okay, this is between two people. This is between John Lithgow in Giant and Nathan Lane in Death of a Salesman. I want John Lithgow to win, and here's the reason why. I don't think Giant is as great a play as Death of a Salesman. How could it be? I don't love the play, but John Lithgow is, and all the actors, but especially John as the centerpiece of the play, is lifting, he is elevating this material, and he is originating a role. We already know that Willy Loman is a great role. And that is the reason why Nathan could win, is because it is a role that can win awards, has won awards in the past. It is one of the greatest roles of the theater. And Nathan is excellent in it. But Nathan is not my favorite Willy Loman. And John Lithgow is the only Roald Dahl I've seen in Giant, and he is great. So I want him to win. I think he should win, and I think he will edge out Nathan Lane and win. Because when it comes to the Actors' Equity, they're on par. Both of them have done Broadway. Both of them have won awards. Both of them are great theater actors. So the sentiment is kind of wash. And when it comes to money, I think it's also the same. They both sell tickets. That's why this is a difficult choice. But I think John Lithgow will win out in the end. Best Actress in a Musical. Okay, this one is tough for me because every fiber of my being wants Marla Mendel to win this award. And I think she should win this award. Titanic is going to go home empty-handed a lot on next week. And not only is Marla holding this show together and at the head of this ship, she also wrote a lot of this. She co-wrote this show, but a lot of what she's doing, she wrote it. And if it's not going to win for Best Book, give it to Marla. I want to say she will win, but I don't think she will. I think it's going to go to Casey Levy. The greatest thing about this revival of Ragtime is how strong the cast is. And I think they've gotten a lot of nominations, and I think people are going to just vote for her, and she will win. I hope I'm wrong. I want it to be Marla. I really, really want it to be Marla. Okay. Best Actor in a Musical. I think this one's really easy. I want Joshua Henry from Ragtime for Coalhouse Walker to win. I think he should win, and I'm pretty sure he will win because you just can't deny the voice, the instrument he has. And he's a great actor as well, but the combination of the acting and the vocals, it just blows your mind away. He's the reason to see Ragtime, and there's lots of reasons, but he's the main reason. Sam Tutty, Two Strangers, he's doing the thing, and I'm a hypocrite because sometimes this matters to me and sometimes it doesn't. He's elevating the material. He's creating a new role. Joshua Henry is doing a role that we already know can win a Tony Award, but he's making me forget about Brian Stokes Mitchell, and he is singing this role in a way that I have never heard it before. So for me, I think he's going to take it. But in another season, Sam Tutty could definitely walk away with his show. I don't think he can be an upset. Sorry, it's not your year, Sam Tutty, but we love you. Thanks for coming to Broadway. Also, sentiment again. The actors, Joshua Henry has been on Broadway. People love him. I think they're going to reward him. Best Original Score. Whoa, this is a hard category. This one tears me up inside because I just don't know. No, I do know. I do know. Well, first of all, I'm angry that Queen of Versailles was not nominated. Instead, they nominated 2 plays. That's just rude. Stephen Schwartz is a wonderful composer. True, Queen of Versailles is not his greatest work, but there was a lot of great craft in that show and a lot of originality. Fight me on it. And a lot of these other scores, I was not impressed. First of all, we're not even going to consider the plays because that's just rude. And we've only got Lost Boys, which I thought sounded great, but I more am crediting the orchestrations, which I think one of the orchestrators might be one of the composers, so they'll get their love there. The Lost Boys just to me wasn't working as a musical score the way I needed it to be. And Schmigadoon, I think, is a wonderful score, but it is just stealing so brazenly from these songs. And so I credit the orchestrations more than I do for the humor. I mean, the lyrics are very funny, but I think the show that is showing the strongest craft of musical theater writing is Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York. I hate this title, but when it comes to the craft of writing musical theater, they are showing the most promise, they're showing the most skill and the most craft, and I want them to win. I think they should win, and I think they will win. Okay, next, Best Book of a Musical. For this one, it's easy for me. I want Titanic to win. I thought it was the best book because all of the other books had problems to me. And the idea that they could do this ridiculous idea of telling the story of Titanic as a parody through the eyes of Celine Dion like she was on the boat, and to keep it interesting for the whole 90 minutes of this show, and to have it grow, and to not have it turn into a one-joke musical, I thought showed incredible skill. And if there are any Tony voters watching, can I influence you to vote for them? Because I don't think they're gonna win. I think Titanic should win. You know, originally I was thinking that Schmigadoon should win because that's a great concept, but I think Titanic should win. But I think Schmigadoon will win Best Book because I don't think it's as brilliant an idea or crazy an idea as Titanic, but it is a good idea and it is executed really well. But the reason I don't think it should win is because, unlike Titanic, I felt like Schmigadoon circles back on itself and starts to play the same joke over again, which Titanic does not do. And Two Strangers, the book feels light to me, and it had moments that just pulled me out of it. It just didn't feel as seamless as I needed it to be. And The Lost Boys, the tone difference between the first and second act are just so crazy that I just don't, I blame the book for that. All right. Gosh, that one, Book of a Musical. I really want my will. I think Schmigadoon's going to win, but I want to be wrong. I want Titanic to win it very much. Okay, we're in the good stuff, y'all. Best revival of a play. I want Oedipus to win, but I understand that it won't, and I understand why it shouldn't. Oedipus shouldn't win because it's in the wrong category. It's not a revival. It's really a new play inspired by the Sophocles play, Oedipus. It's really in the wrong category. But I think the writing is so incredible, and I thought the production was so incredible, even though it came from England, came from London, I want Oedipus to win. I thought that was the best revival of a play. If we're going to put it in that category, even though it shouldn't be there, but I think that's going to harm it. People aren't going to vote for it because they're going to feel it's in the wrong category. So I guess Death of a Salesman should win based on the category. A lot of people think Becky Shaw should. I don't know. I don't love that play as much as everyone else. Yeah, I think Death of a Salesman should win, and I think it will win. I mean, I think really it's kind of got a lock on it. Best revival of a musical. Let's get into it. Now, this is between Cats, the Jellicoe Ball, and Ragtime. I don't think it should be, because I think Cats is going to win Best Choreography, Best Costumes, Best Direction. And then I think Ragtime is going to win a lot of Best Actor awards. But my question is, when we talk about what is the best revival of a musical, I think it should be about the components of the show that will stay in place as the show has a long, healthy run. Actors will leave. Actors will get sick. The actors will not always be the same. But the direction will be the same. The choreography will be the same. The set design will be the same. The orchestrations will be the same. The lighting will be the same. The costumes will be the same. All of these elements that make a revival so great and constant is what should decide the best revival of a musical. And Cats is going to win most of those awards. So if they're going to win those awards, in my opinion, they should win Best Revival. So that's who I want to win. That's who I think should win. And contrary to popular belief, I think that's who will win. Because I think people in the industry, unlike critics who are in the industry but don't make up a majority of the voting block here, they do for all the other awards. But for this award, it's not about the critics. I think Cats will win because I think Actors Equity and producers will appreciate that this show is doing something remarkable. Just announced that it's extending, so that's going to help it with the practicality of the Broadway League voters. I think it's going to be Cats, y'all. Okay, best play. You should know this about me already. I want Liberation to win, and I think Liberation should win, and I think Liberation will win. Let's break that down. So Liberation is a new play. It's written in an unusual style where the actors break characters. They speak to the audience. They break and speak to each other as actors. They speak to each other as characters. It is such an unusual new play, and I think a lot of people really appreciate plays that are pushing the form forward. Whereas if we look at Giant, I feel like the actors are uplifting it. Liberation to me is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Everything is working. The costumes, the lighting, the set design, the direction, the playwriting, the actors. It is the best ensemble of actors of these four shows. Ballisters has a very good ensemble, but Liberation, it should win and it will win. I have decided it. Olivier's be damned, and I know the Ballisters has a lot of energy coming in, and it's currently playing, as is Giant, but Liberation, if Liberation doesn't win, something's getting broken. All right, best musical. I've saved the best for last, and this is also the hardest one to choose because it is a three-way tie between Schmigadoon, Two Strangers, and The Lost Boys. And as I've already kind of predicted, that The Lost Boys is going to win a lot of technical awards. Two Strangers is going to win Best Score. And I think Schmigadoon is going to win Best Book. And this is why it's like, who's going to win? And I think Lost Boys is going to win for Shoshana, whereas the other two shows aren't going to win any acting awards. This one is really hard to decide. So, who do I want to win? I want Titanic to win. The reason I want Titanic to win is I just was disappointed with the seasons of musicals this year. And normally I don't want a jukebox musical to win. And I know you guys are gonna be mad because so many people love Two Strangers. It just was lacking for me in book and score. And Lost Boys was lacking in book and score. And Schmigadoon is just lacking for me in book and score as well because it's copying a score. It's copying book ideas. Yes, it's funny, but it loops back. Lost Boys has problems, and Two Strangers has problems. So my feeling is just give it to Titanic. Give it to the show that doesn't have an original score. Give it to a show that is a jukebox musical, and that way we say, we want better musicals. We want better new musicals on Broadway. Give us better choices, like you did last year. That's why I want Titanic to win. It's pissy, and I own it. Okay, but who should win? I think Two Strangers should win. Because when it comes to craft, I think they have the strongest craft of the score for sure, and even the book, even though I have problems with it, the craft is there. It's good. These guys are good writers. I'm a little bitter boots, as I've talked about before, that London is developing the new musicals and then being brought over to the US when I think we have shows of the same caliber of Two Strangers that are being written here in New York. I have seen them. They are in the same caliber, if not better. And it bothers me that those shows can't come to Broadway because it's too expensive to develop this little show in New York and bring it to Broadway, but they can do it in London. That's my beef with Two Strangers. I think it's a wonderful show, but that's my beef. So I think who will win is Schmigadoon will win out in the end. And the reason I think Schmigadoon's going to win out in the end is because it's a bunch of musical theater jokes that insiders get. And who votes for the Tonys? Insiders. Every joke in Schmigadoon, the people who are voting on the Tonys will get that joke and think it's funny. They will appreciate the choreography, they'll appreciate the costumes, they will appreciate the set design. Everyone's going to appreciate that. Whereas I think Lost Boys is going to pull people in different directions. They're going to like this, but then, and I think the Drama League, they might want Lost Boys because it's a good Broadway brand, but then Schmigadoon is also a really good Broadway brand because it's honoring Broadway musicals and it will play really well on tour. As far as the Actors' Equity goes, that voting block, that one could go either way because they love Michael Arden and Shoshana Bean in The Lost Boys, but they also are loving Christopher Catelli and a lot of the just hard-working theater actors that are in Schmigadoon. Okay, so Schmigadoon for the big win of the night. That's who I think will win. All right. I made this much longer than it needed to be. Thank you if you've hung in to the very end. Please comment below where you think I'm off base, where you're angry at me. I love all that stuff. Who you want, who should, and who you think will win. Let's see. I'm really curious to see next week to see how many of these I got right. I'm going to enter some of the Tony pools, see if we can win something. I've won things in the past. See if we can make it happen again. Make it rain, baby. All right. Thank you for watching. Coming up soon, I've got more off-Broadway reviews, but coming up soon, I'm going to do my full 2025-2026 Broadway season. I'm going to do my worst to best shows roundup coming up later this week, so check that out. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I am going to do another live Tony watch party next Sunday for the Tony Awards, so please tune in for that. I won't be able to show the actual Tony Awards on the video because that'll get me shut down, but if you're watching it at home, we can all watch it together and during the commercial breaks, have little chats about it. Let me know in the comments below if you think I should have the sound on of the show or just have no sound and let you guys have your own sound on where you are. Let me know what you think below in the comments. All right, see you next Sunday, if not sooner. I'll see you sooner. Bye.
Don't wanna drift away, wanna stay inside the play. Keep me engaged, keep me amused with what's in front of me. 'Cause I don't wanna be bored and confused.